In a recent episode of Question Everything with Danielle Robay, she had a guest on named Alison Levine, who is a mountaineer, among other things. And there was a point in time where she was trying to summit Mount Everest and made the difficult decision to not summit Mount Everest. And as she explains it, there's the phrase, go big or go home. For her, she likes to change that up and instead go big and go home, right? And so by choosing not to summit Mount Everest, she still went big, but made the calculated decision that it was too risky, and instead she needed to go home, right? Now, most of us are not climbing Mount Everest and kind of facing risk in that way, but in our artistic lives, we want to create something, right? So that's the go big aspect. And people tell us all the time, big risk, big reward, and all that stuff, right? Like these are kind of all the various ways that it permeates throughout society. And it's like, if you're not doing this, then you don't want it bad enough. Well, as she teaches us, I think it's a very good lesson that we can apply to ourselves. Yes, go big and go home. People are waiting for us back home. And that could be both literally, but also proverbially, right? So how can we actually apply this? Well, number one, yes, have courage, but don't be reckless. Take bold creative risks, but not at the cost of your health, long-term sustainability, and things of that nature, right? That's not worth it. So go big with your vision, but recharge. There's that aspect of it. Failure isn't the enemy. Stubbornness is, because failure really doesn't exist. It's just a misstep. It's in that moment you didn't succeed at something, but that's not to say you can't ever succeed at it again. Because here's a spoiler alert, even though Alison chose not to summit one time because of the dangers involved on Mount Everest, she went back and she got it done, right? And so in that sense, nothing's ever lost. And I think too many times, we like to glamorize, like you just get one shot at something or this and that. You don't. That one shot, yes, can be important and really propel you, but it's not your only shot. I've seen this everywhere, right? But as a more kind of recent example for me, I'm reading directed by James Burrows. James Burrows is a world-renowned sitcom director. I mean, he's done Cheers, Friends, Will and Grace, like you name it, he's had a hand in it. So 5 decades of TV sitcom directing. And, there's been plenty of times where he messed up, and yet he still found success. So that's what this is all about. Now let's really kind of break it down and give you a couple more examples in terms of specificity, right? So number one that I think we can all relate to as artists, money and sustainability. Yes, bet on yourself, but don't let it bankrupt you, right? I think there's a way to move projects along without, having the need to go into debt and things of that nature. Yes, that means things will take longer, they'll go slower, maybe frustratingly so. Trust me, I've been there. But at least it's a way that you can continue going. It's not a one and done thing. Sometimes there might be instances where you do need to redline, both financially, and work-wise and stuff like that. But the longevity of it, you don't need to be burning the midnight oil in terms of your time as well as your money, right? So pace your ambition. That's really important. Okay? Now let me give you kind of various disciplines. So the first one, filmmaking, right? That's something that I can speak to as a filmmaker very directly, right? There's often times that you think you might need, you have this one opportunity at a shot, right? I'll give you an actual example from my last movie, Finding Love in Bogota. We were in Colombia, and our shooting schedule was very tight. I mean, we shot this thing, we had scheduled 12 days. That's insane for a feature film. And, it'd be one thing if it was one location and, just long talking stuff. But this thing, we had 100-something scenes with like over 80 actual different locations. For an indie movie, that's insane, especially on the level we were working at. and to do it in 12 days. So, all that to say, there was not a lot of wiggle room for error. But one of the days, it's just nothing was going our way. And so, that's where I had to be, okay, readjust and be like, okay, yes, we want to get certain stuff, but what do we absolutely need to get here while we're in Colombia? And what's the stuff we can do without, right? So that's the go big and quite literally go home. Like we went back home to LA and, we had to figure out. Now, one of the things that we had to film, is very integral and very wide sweeping. And, it's one thing if you're filming an interior, but like, certain exteriors and things like that, it was like, how am I going to get this to look like Colombia, right? That's a big undertaking. But you know what? We made it work, and actually, the movie's better for it. So, oftentimes, those limitations that you feel in the moment, you can do away with it. Yes, sometimes they can be costly. Like, listen, certainly in our respect, it was costly to not get those shots in Colombia and then have to book new locations, book the actors for additional days and stuff like that. But, at that point, in for a penny, in for a pound, we made it work and we got creative with it. And we were forced to be creative because of those limitations. And we made it work and it made the movie better, right? That's the beautiful part. So, all production is a marathon, not a sprint. So it's okay. If like what seems ultra important in the moment, it's okay. You can figure it out. I promise you. Let's talk about something in the music industry, right? Let's say you're in the studio. You're a singer. Know when to stop. It's one of those things that you don't want to ruin your voice just to, get something. Like if it's just not working out and stuff like that, it's okay. Live to fight another day. Same thing with like concerts. Ava Max had tour dates announced, but she said, hey, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. It's not to the standard I want it to be for my fans, so we're going to postpone. That's a risky proposition, right? But you know what? Kudos to her for having that bravery, and she and the fans will live to fight another proverbial day. Let's take writing. Oftentimes, writing is one of those things that you want to do so well at, and it's very much a solitary sort of act, and you just have to kind of be okay that it's not necessarily going to go at your schedule. The thing that you can control is the time that you put into it. What you can't control is how much of an output you have within that time. But if you're consistent with putting in the time to write and stuff like that, you will see those improvements over time. Podcasting or just any content creation in general, consistency matters, but so does your capacity. And this is something that I'm sort of trying to embody of like, if I have more time, then I could put out a few more episodes. When I'm feeling really tired or my schedule is just really busy, it's like, you know what, I'll do what I can, right? And just be okay with that, knowing that like the ones that I do put out, I've put my best effort in rather than just trying to hit some certain arbitrary number because of algorithm or anything like that. No. So, go big means taking those risks, not being fearful, right? But at the same time, having that sustainability, that long-term path, right? You want your career to span not just years, but decades. And so there's going to be ups and downs. And it's okay to navigate through those and understand like, okay, it might not have worked out this time, but it's not a failure, and you'll regroup. You will be there to uplift your friends. You will be there to have your friends uplift you. It's all good. So give yourself that permission, and whatever it is, go big and go home. And for more on this directly from the horse's mouth, as they say, I've linked to the podcast itself in the description box. I would really, really encourage you to listen to it, not just for this message, but there's other things that Alison speaks about, very inspiring, that are very applicable to anyone. So I just wanted to highlight this one in particular because of what it meant for me, right? So one of the other things that I would do to encourage you is also comment down below. What does this mean for you? How are you thinking about this phrase? I'd be very curious to know, so thank you in advance of doing that. And if you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and do so. That way you get all kinds of episodes just like this right when I put them out. Thank you if you already were, and thank you if you just did. It truly does mean a lot to me, as it does to you. And I hope to see you next time.